This is the Erin Marie Podcast, where the pussified mentality gets thrown in the dumpster fire where it belongs, and mediocrity gets We're talking total annihilation. She doesn't sugarcoat for the Care Bear motherfuckers who bang their victim drum, or anyone doing the backstroke in the cesspool they call life. This show is about getting off your ass and handling your because the fate of the next generation depends on you becoming mentally unfuckwithable. Let's rock it, you unapologetic Americans. This is the Erin Marie Podcast, and here she is.
Community, what's good? I'm your host, Erin Marie, and this is the show where I teach you how to master your attention with real-world applications so you can build a brain that bends in your favor. And I do that by arming each and every one of you with the neurodominance and indomitable will to reject mediocrity so you can build your journey of overcoming. Today, I'm going to hit you with some information that is going to make you tilt your head to the side like an inquisitive little Cocker Spaniel. I'm going to teach you something that you can implement in your life right now that helps you level up. It's going to help you over the course of your entire life. And you can do this immediately. But first, let's talk about the dues that you pay to be here and listen to this show. The dues are not monetary, which means I'm not going to blast you with 15 to 20 pitches for other people's products. That's why the dues are a straight up value exchange, just like good old-fashioned American values should be. So, if you like the show, if you learn something new, if the message makes you think different or changes your life for the better, I want you to share the show. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues, tell your family, tell all of your cousins. Send a DM and bring me somebody who also wants to learn something new. That is how we build a coalition of mentally tough individuals who are inspired to eradicate mediocrity from the planet because the fate of the next generation depends on it. Now, I am not going to ease into this episode. We're going to do a cannonball straight off the high dive into the truth most people can't stomach, which is most of you think that you're suffering right now. And hey, maybe you are. But what you don't realize is that you're probably doing it wrong. You're stuck in it, drowning in it, complaining about it, replaying it in your head like a movie reel with no ending. You've convinced yourself that if you just get through it, life is going to reward you for hanging on. And I'm here to tell you that's bullshit. Suffering doesn't automatically make you stronger, just like time doesn't automatically make you wiser. Pain doesn't automatically build resilience. What makes you neurodominant is how you suffer, with purpose, with clarity, with precision. But instead, most of you are just simply suffering, blindly, powerlessly, stupidly. Your suffering isn't working because you're not working it. You're not leading in with curiosity. You're not learning anything. You're bleeding out and then calling it progress. And if that sounds a little harsh, good, because there's some of you out there thinking emotional pain is your badge of honor, when in reality, it's your self-inflicted cage. Most of you are your own worst enemy when it comes to suffering. And I don't say that with judgment. I say it because I lived it. So tell me, guys, do you know what it's like to feel like everything you've ever known, everything you've spent your entire life building, everything that you care about in your world, do you know what it's like to watch the life that you spent building collapse in slow motion and you feel like there's not a damn thing you can do about it? To feel like you're barely hanging on, one breath away from losing your grip. Every time you feel like there's the smallest possibility of exhaling, that you get punched in the teeth and knocked down and kicked even harder. I'm not talking about a bad day. I'm talking about the kind of pain that seeps into your bones, the kind of suffering that makes you question your entire existence. Do you know this kind of suffering? I do. Maybe you do too. So I have another question for you, a simple question, really, especially if you think that you're suffering right now. And the question is this: is your suffering purposeful? Right now, can you say that the pain that you're experiencing is building you into someone stronger? I don't know. Most of you are probably shaking your head yes, because in your brain, why would you be suffering if it didn't serve some sort of bigger purpose in the end? Well, today, I'm going to show you that the majority of you don't suffer purposefully. You spin inside the same tired circle of hopelessness because not many people understand how to suffer in a way that advances their life. You're not weak because you're hurting. You're weak because you're not using your suffering to build a brain that bends in your favor. But I'm going to teach you a tactic today that will advance your life if you just listen to me for the next few minutes and you take this shit serious. What sparked the idea for this episode was an email that I got from a 36-year-old firefighter, former United States Marine, working extra shifts while going through a gnarly custody battle, who wrote some of the grim details of his life. I'm going to share a few of those with you out loud. I want to illustrate the kind of suffering that actually sharpens your edge. All right, his words, not mine. Erin Marie. I haven't slept more than 4 hours in weeks. My ex is dragging me through divorce court. I miss my son. I've lost 12 pounds because I know I'm not eating right. The guys at the station don't know what I'm dealing with, and frankly, I don't want to talk about it. My bank account is hemorrhaging with no end in sight, but I still show up to train every day. I've still made my bed, and I've still said no to the bottle. You guys know what that is? That is suffering with intention. This man is bleeding, but he's building. He's not spinning the victim narrative. He's not slamming his fist onto the table, begging for fairness. He's not disappearing into comfort food and porn and escapism and excuses. He's gripping the barbell. He's gripping daily critical tasks. He's gripping his standards like his life depends on it, because it does. Not many people understand how to suffer in a way where they rewire their brain favorably. Your brain doesn't rewire favorably because you suffer. It rewires favorably because you refuse to let suffering pull you off mission. And you have to understand that when you suffer with clarity, meaning when you tell your brain, no, we are not quitting today, that is a direct reflection of how you're living up to the standards that you have set for yourself in your own life. That is when you begin to adapt. That is when you start building a brain that bends in your favor. Your reward pathways don't light up because you cried in the car. They light up on the days when what you'd rather do is die than get out of bed. But you get up and press forward anyhow. That's how your brain learns what you care about. That's how discipline gets coded into your neurobiology. And that's exactly where most of you are fucking up. If you're somebody who constantly breaks the promises you make to yourself, if you only sometimes get your ass up off the couch and treat your body with respect, and you're going to the gym and you're skipping reps and you're ghosting your goals and you're hitting snooze on your potential, if you turn projects in at work that you know damn well are not your best effort, if you tolerate toxic interpersonal relationships that are barely functional, they don't help you, they don't make you better, they don't make others better, then guess what? Your brain encodes that behavior. It builds shortcuts. In fact, it makes quitting on yourself easier the next time. So yeah, it makes perfect fucking sense when a shitstorm comes flying directly at your face and causes any kind of suffering, major or minor, that you take the exact same half approach, climbing into the hamster wheel cage voluntarily far longer than necessary. You go and get loud about everything. You get chaotic. You tell anybody who's listening how unfair all of it is, right? You're shaking your fist at the sky. Why do things like this always happen to me? And then you spend the next year or two or, 3 or decade crying your eyes into your pillow at night, praying to fall asleep before you fall apart, never leaning into your suffering with more curiosity. You've made suffering your identity, not your training grounds. Does that sound familiar to you? Do you know anyone like this in your life? That used to be me, and maybe that's you right now. Maybe that's why you're here. But that doesn't have to be where your story ends, because there's a tactic, a simple, powerful shift that you can make starting today that cultivates a different mindset that will take your suffering today and any future suffering that you're probably going to encounter and move you along a different path, a better path, the path that helps you build a brain that bends in your favor. And here is exactly what you can do. Start controlling the controllables, which means stop handing your power over to circumstances. It means you seize authority over every variable in your life within your command, no matter what shitstorm is raging around you. You have more control over your life than you think, by the way. You can control whether or not you groom yourself when you leave the house. You control how hydrated you are. You control whether you get your workout in or sit on your excuses. You control what you put in your mouth. You control how you treat your friends, your family, your colleagues. Even when you're exhausted and pissed off, you control your tone and how you show up in the world. You control whether or not you tell the truth. You control whether you negotiate with your brain when your brain turns to shit. You control whether or not you live in alignment with your goals. That means you grip the steering wheel of these controllables and you don't let it the fuck go. And that's exactly where 99% of you are fucking up. You suffer, but you don't learn. You cry, but you don't change. You spiral, but you never climb. Because when a shitstorm flies directly at your face, guys, your suffering is coming for one thing and one thing only, and that thing is your attention. In what you give your attention to, you reinforce. So if your suffering has a nice, cozy, soft place to land and take up space in your life with nothing to push against it, it's gonna eat you alive. But if you give that shit a locked-in morning routine, if you give it nutrient-dense foods and heavy strength training regimen, if you give it structure, action, accountability, and zero tolerance for the drama with your mama bullshit, now your suffering has to work for you, not against you. That's the kind of suffering that becomes useful. That's the kind of suffering that elevates you. That's how you start controlling your trajectory instead of being yanked around by it. And when you learn to control the controllables, when you hold the line on your standards, even in the dark, especially in the dark, you create a feedback loop in your brain that says, I don't fold when shit gets hard. I don't fall apart even if I'm hurting tremendously. And the more often you reinforce that loop, the more efficient it becomes. You stop looking for reasons to give up and you start looking for reasons to keep going. So stop trying to figure out what's wrong with you. Stop asking why you can't move through the suffering faster. Stop asking why it hurts. It hurts because it matters. And stop telling yourself that suffering is optional. It's not. It's necessary. It's required. It's neurobiologically useful and nature's preferred agent for inspiring change. You might want to rewind that shit and play it back again because those statements I just made are extremely powerful. Your suffering is not a punishment. It is a pressure test. And the reason why most of you crack under that pressure is because you're trying to control what you can't, instead of locking the fuck in on the things you can. Your nervous system doesn't stabilize because you go on a venting spree. It stabilizes because you create traction inside chaos. It stabilizes when you execute against your goals anyway. That's what controlling the controllables looks like in real time. So the next time that you have a shitstorm hit directly at your face, the next time your business takes a hit, when your marriage implodes, when the lawsuit lands, when your reputation takes a nosedive, when that text message comes in that changes everything, you don't spiral. You lock the fuck in. You narrow the field of vision to what's in reach. And what is that? Hydration, your reps at the gym, your tone of voice, your meetings on the calendar, your nutrition, your posture, your code of conduct. And this is how I think about it. I'm going to give you an example. For me, being an entrepreneur isn't separate from being human because my personal life and professional life blend. There isn't a whole lot of difference between the two. So if something punches me in the teeth in one area, it reverberates through all of it. So when the bottom falls out from under me, I don't get to run. I get to lead. And here's exactly how I lead myself through those moments. Here's how I reframe when the shit hits the fan and everything starts to break at once. I don't say, why me? I don't say, how could I not see this coming? How could I be so stupid? I don't think, oh God, my world is ending. There's no way out. I don't beg for ease or comfort. I say something like this, look, bitch. A serious shitstorm just punched you directly in the teeth. This is it. It's going to cause immense amounts of suffering. You're going to struggle. You're going to feel like quitting. You're going to question your entire existence. This is the moment that most people fold. This is the exact moment where everybody else logs off, Netflix out, and folds up shop. This is when everybody else walks off the battlefield looking for the easy route or sweeps everything under the rug like it doesn't exist. But not you. Not today. You've been waiting for this moment. You live for moments like this. This suffering is going to teach you something. There's something waiting for you on the other side. There's nothing between you and this suffering but air and opportunity. So lock it the fuck in and start swinging. And that kind of thinking, guys, that is what will help set you apart from everybody else. That's how you take a punch to the teeth and keep the mission alive. When it's difficult, when there's heartache, when there's feelings of desperation and no end in sight. This suffering that you are up against right now is there to pull you apart by the lungs to teach you something that you didn't know before. Your suffering doesn't make you special. Your ability to stabilize inside of it does. That is how you build neurodominance. That's how you build a brain that bends in your favor. That's how you start linking adversity with movement, not meltdowns. For me, this is what I do. I actively visualize other human performance coaches who, right now, are trying to take my market share, for example, take my clientele, take what I've built from scratch. And I ask myself, if that motherfucker were going through the same level of pain, the same kind of suffering that makes you question your own existence, would that person quit on themselves? And the answer that I give is usually a resounding fuck yes. And that thought right there, that's rocket fuel for me. That's how I grit it the fuck out. That's how I flip mental anguish into mental strength. Now, it brings me pleasure to suffer. I am fully joy to be in the middle of a bona fide, piss-poor, agony-driven, rip my soul apart shitstorm that threw directly at my face. In fact, in those moments, as crazy as it sounds, I ask the universe to double my suffering. I'm like, bring me all you got. I want the pressure. I want the agony. Not because I particularly enjoy agony, but I like the alchemy that only pain can provide. This is the opportunity that you guys don't see. Your frustration is an opportunity. Your divorce is an opportunity. You getting laid off work is an opportunity. You having to downsize your living arrangements is an opportunity. The crushing financial debt right now, that is an opportunity. The exhaustion from parenting, caregiving, or having to rebuild your life brick by brick, this is an opportunity. And if you want to suffer in a way that advances your life and you want to develop incredible levels of courage and tenacity and self-esteem and build thought patterns that make you feel like I'm the boss bitch around here, I'm the king of this domain, or whatever you want to fucking call yourself, if you want to become mentally unfuckwithable, then the next time suffering comes flying at your face, don't run. Tighten your periphery, control your controllables, and don't quit on yourself like a little bitch. That's the difference between the people who crumble under chaos and spin inside the hamster wheel of hopelessness forever, and those who take a punch to the teeth, spit out the blood, and move the fuck on. This is not about your layoff, or your breakup, or your divorce, or your empty bank account. This is your neurobiological wake-up call to control the controllables. Stop praying for relief from your days and start preparing for the harder ones. And let me talk to the people who are like, okay, but Erin Marie, great concept, but what if I try what you're talking about And what if I suck at it, right? Like, what if it doesn't work out the way that you claim? All right, well, I don't know. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. That means you're at the place where most people tap out. You're actually at the start of something real. And it's okay to suck at something when you begin, by the way. Like, take satisfaction from the fact that you're actually giving this new mindset a shot. The fact that you're iterating inside your suffering in a way that 99% of the population won't even consider, that deserves accolades. And guess what, guys? Suffering, it's not linear. It's not a 5-page PowerPoint slide deck with cute little graphics and a chart and a timeline, okay? Some days you're going to wake up okay, like you're fine. And other days, you're going to feel like the sky just collapsed on your chest and wounds are bleeding and they're fresh. And on those days, you still have to lead. You still hydrate. You still show up for your people. You lock in the controllables so that your brain learns no matter what, you don't break. And guys, most people never figure this out. They don't want to reframe their suffering. They don't want to take the path of most resistance. They don't want to turn the page to a new chapter with new frustrations and new pains and new sacrifices. Hell, most people don't understand why anybody would get excited about the suffering life bestows upon us. They look at people like us like we are batshit crazy, but secretly, they wish they could be more like us. You know, we're out here building empires with broken bones and bloody knuckles, and that's why they keep licking their wounds and face-palming the shit out of themselves for the seemingly intangible mystery of life that they cannot figure out while they're blaming the world and wondering why shit isn't changing for them. But not you. You are different. You know you're not the victim of your suffering. You are the alchemist of it. You turn agony into discipline, your exhaustion into energy, your confusion into commitment. That's why you see the victim clowns of the world inside a perpetual state of fucking themselves over so they can continue to play the victim card from the suffering that they claim happened because somebody, somewhere, for some reason, fuck them up the ass like a cactus. And that is why they lose in life. That's why they'll continue to lose in life for the rest of their natural existence. And chances are, if you come anywhere near those people, they're going to try and take you down along with them. So beware, because this idea, what I'm talking to you about today, it all comes down to the moment that you decide to take control of your controllables. And as counterintuitive as it sounds, your suffering is going to revolve around the reps you crank out at the gym when you don't feel like it. The nutritious one-word foods that you ingest instead of fast, greasy food. Your refusal to allow toxicity into your life because you don't have time for that shit. The awesome work product that you produce that nobody asked you to, but you do it anyhow because you care about the clients that you serve. The posture you keep. The composure you keep, the time that you take on your calendar to teach others what you wish you would have known, the way you treat the people who cross your path with kindness and consideration. Those are the reasons why you're going to begin to look at your suffering like an opportunity when life rips out your spine. That's not to say that you're not vulnerable or sad or angry or fearful or worried. It means that the person you're becoming next is going to take all that misery and embrace it in order to build a brain that bends in their favor. Build it out of steel, out of standards, out of every single controllable you refused to let go of. That's the only way this works. And if I just said all of that and then you start thinking to yourself, well, that might take way more energy or work than I have left to give, motherfucker. The only reason that you say that is because you're trying to negotiate with your brain when your brain turns to shit. You're trying to convince yourself that you are incapable. So you don't have to look yourself in the eyeball and admit that your standards are lower than your bank account. You're not broken. You're not incapable. None of you listening are incapable. You're mentally weak because of how much of your own bullshit that you've tolerated in your own life for years. That you'd have to finally admit to yourself that it's time to stop being the biggest loser that you know. You'd have to stop letting your weight spiral out of control. You'd have to stop working that job you hate. Stop tolerating that toxic interpersonal relationship that you're in. You're going to have to stop being that piss-poor parent, a lazy friend, a distracted partner, and an underwhelming version of yourself any longer. And now, yeah, maybe you are terrified. Because when you finally stop all that bullshit, when you finally cut the dead weight, you're left standing there alone with one brutal realization that it's time for you to level the fuck up. And you know what? That's exactly when the mind games start. Your confidence slips, your belief system spirals, the frustration sets in, and you become confused. Just like every directionless, excuse-spouting victim clown out there, wandering the world confused as hell, asking dumbass questions like, why can't I figure this out? Well, let me tell you why. Because most people never learn to look at their shitstorm as a strategic advantage. They never develop the neural wiring to see their misery, despair, heartbreak, or chaos through the lens of curiosity. They don't see the abnormal amount of suffering literally staring them straight at the face as an opportunity, as an advantage in life, which means your evolution in life does not give a shit about your comfort or your good intentions. It cares whether or not you respond to misery with action, not excuses. You want your life to stop feeling like a train wreck all the time? Then you better bring all those shitty details of your life front and center, the ones that you sit there and you pretend that they don't exist, the ones that you've been procrastinating about, the ones that would unleash even more shitty details that you've been avoiding. I'm talking about the shitty details that would be the furious catalyst that would force your ass straight into total misery and unimaginable pain and feelings of hopelessness, the kind that make you feel like you can't breathe, right? I want you to drag that shit into the light, because on the other side of that unimaginable suffering is something beautiful and ironic. It's the discipline system that kicks in instead of the emotional roller coaster. It's the mentally unfuckwithable skill set that you have yet to build. It's the lessons you have yet to learn. It's daily, repeatable behaviors and thought patterns you don't have yet that tell your brain, this pain is not killing me. It's shaping me. That's what's waiting for you on the other side. And also, how to handle situations like this that may come up again later in life. This journey, that's how you build emotional resilience. That's how you build a prefrontal kill switch that steps in and silences the noise when you start negotiating with your brain when your brain turns to shit, right? You're not special because you suffer. Everybody suffers. You're special when you turn that suffering into a neurodominant strategy. Okay, so when your world implodes, when you're laid off, when your reputation tanks, when you file for bankruptcy, when your relationship disintegrates, when you get abnormal test results back from the doctor, you better start whispering to yourself, this pain isn't punishment, it's direction. Because the people who get through it, the people who make it out of the gates of hell with more fire than when they went in with, are the ones who treated their suffering like an opportunity, not a personal attack. So if that's not you, then make it you today, right fucking now. And while we're at it, let me take a swing at your scrolling habits. If you think that the answers to your misery are buried in some Instagram meme or Snapchat video, or in the next emotionally manipulative post from some energy healing guru who hasn't healed anything, or the right caption is just going to fix your discipline problem, or that you can think your way out of hell, you are delusional. This is not about wish boards. This is not about vibes. This is about teaching yourself what not to be doing in these types of situations. This is about knowing what types of people or groups or situations or behaviors that you need to avoid or stop doing altogether. It's about knowing how not to execute your actions in this direction or in that direction, okay? This is about going through the pain. This is about doing the work. This is about suffering with intention. This is about controlling what you can control. And for the love of misery, can you stop quitting on yourself. Let the other guy quit. Let the other guy complain. Let the other guy scroll for answers in a meme carousel while you're throwing punches left and right at life with routines and structure and reps and standards so sharp that they could slit throats. Learn to take the punches to the teeth. Learn to stick it out day after day, week after week, and sometimes year after year, like the case of divorce or a health diagnosis or a death in the family, because that's where growth lives. It's in the parts that hurt. It's in the parts that are ugly, in the part you wish you could avoid but don't, which, by the way, will bring you closer to the end of your misery, or at least to a place that's tolerable. So here's your challenge. You can join every mastermind or read all the books or do every ice bath or participate in drum circles and firewalking ceremonies, but none of it, not one single second of it, will change your life like this. The moment suffering shows its ugly head, whether it's in your schedule, your relationship, your bank account, or your mirror, you take this concept, you lock eyes with it, and you say out loud, you are not here to break me. You are here to build me. And I'm going to beat the ever-living fuck out of you with every fiber of my soul. Then go do that, guys. Bleed, adapt, rewire, repeat, knowing there's something waiting for you on the other side of despair and heartache and bankruptcy and divorce and your layoff and misery, knowing that there are actually people out there who quit on themselves again and again and again, but not you. And that's why you should feel fully joy to suffer more, and then suffer more even after that, and come back stronger. You were fucking built for this shit. You learned today how to suffer in a way that gives your life more meaning, a better advantage. What to do next when you hit rock bottom. Your emotions are temporary, by the way. Your misery is data. Your suffering is the signal. And the only way out is through. This is not about a fairy tale ending. This is about going through hell and not losing your grip. And when you don't lose your grip, you're going to experience more self-respect, more success, the kind of life that attracts better friendships, better income, and a better body, a better career, a better relationship with somebody who doesn't take you for granted. Because when everybody else in the world views suffering as a negative, you are going to view it as an opportunity. So when life kicks you to the ground, and it will kick you to the ground, yank you around and make you bloody as hell, you already know what to do. Stand back up. Tighten your periphery, smile back with blood in your teeth, and start imposing your will on the day. It's not what the day brings you, it's what you bring the day. So bring the fucking thunder.
This has been the Erin Marie Podcast. So many people walking around out there are professional victims and complainers, and we ain't having it. If you agree and you've gotten something from the show, make sure to like, rate, and review. Remember, stay off your ass, no excuses, and never settle for mediocrity. Catch you next time on the Erin Marie Podcast.